you are struggling with getting students to collaborate in your classroom, I've got 5 tips to help you. So, there are a few things that I've noticed when I've been out in teachers' classrooms. And the biggest complaint that I've heard from teachers is collaboration for our students, especially on technology, is a challenge. So, teachers are being asked to increase their use of creative technology in the class. So, this is having students use technology to produce something, to create a slide deck or redesign the cover of a book, create their own book. So there is so much out there for creative technology. But once they've taught how to use that technology, the struggle becomes having kids work together using that technology. So, of course, post pandemic, as we all refer to pre COVID and post COVID, pre COVID, kids were I guess, more engaged. And now, after being isolated and keeping everybody apart for so long, it's hard to get kids to work together because they're so used to being isolated, but they've also lost years of that social development. So that's a really important piece. So I've got 5 tips or 5 ways, 5 ideas, however you want to phrase it, for encouraging students to collaborate in your classroom. And this, you can pick one of these and try it tomorrow. So these are low stakes, low barrier to entry ways to support collaboration. Okay, so I shared a graphic on my Instagram earlier today that included these 5 ways. And I was hoping I could share my screen, but I think it's too late for me to do that. So I'm just going to use my graphic. Okay. So the first thing that you can do to support collaboration is using examples and non-examples. So when I taught 4th grade after Christmas, the kids came back a little crazy, right, as they do, and we needed to reteach our rules for the classroom. But I didn't want to just go over the rules again. I really wanted to make an impact, I guess you could say. So what I did is I had a student in each class be the teacher, and they thought that they had earned the opportunity to teach a lesson. Little did they know that Kaylee Collier was about to make teaching very difficult for them. So, as they are teaching their lesson, I acted the way that the students had been acting. I was rolling around, I was dropping my pencil, fidgety, blurting out. And slowly the kids caught on to what was happening and started correcting me. And we talked about why those behaviors can be a problem in the classroom and why they can affect, your learning and affect other people's learning. So I suggest doing an example, modeling productive collaboration, and then maybe modeling non-productive collaboration, because we've all seen it. We all have a student that does not like to work with other people. We all have the student that wants to take control of everything and have it done their way. We all have a student who would rather just sit back and not really participate. So, those are caricatures that we see even as adults, right? Even in adult life, people fit into those molds, but we still have to learn to work together. So, exposing students to very specific scenarios that involve those types of people can be a good way to bring up that discussion of, so what, now what? So, you have one person in your group who's not participating. Now what do we do? And a lot of kids are probably going to say, well, I'm going to tell the teacher. Well, okay, but what else can you do? Because in the real world, If I go to my boss and I say, teacher B down the hall is refusing to collaborate with me, my boss is going to say, okay, well, have you tried A, B, C, D? So students need to have that kind of in the back of their mind. If a student doesn't want to collaborate, so what are you going to do next? Can you provide them something to do? Maybe they don't know where to start. If you have a student that is overindulgent and really wants to take control, then we need to talk about how do you encourage that person to share the control without inciting a fight, right? So I think providing kids with the positive example and kind of the negative example of how to work together is really helpful. And of course, the real world connection. I don't think they realize how much collaboration happens because we don't pinpoint every time they collaborate. But I'm willing to bet that if you sit back in your classroom and watch students, they probably collaborate more than you realize. And by that I mean they're helping each other. Oh, you need a pencil? Here, let me help you out. Oh, you don't know what page? Here, let me help you out. Build on that. Build on that drive and that need to help. The second tip that I would say is give each person in that group a specific job or task from the front. Like up front, this is their job, this is what they're doing. Because I'm in elementary school, and there have been times when I don't want to say I forget, but I kind of forget that these kids are 10 and 11 at the most, right? Fifth graders are about 10 or 11 years old. So, we have them doing all of this higher order thinking. We have this expectation of responsibility. Fifth grade curriculum in Georgia, we tackle some really challenging subject areas. And so we kind of forget that they're 10. They've been on this planet for a decade. And they probably need a specific task to start with. So if I'm going to create a group about World War II, for example, so I was talking about fifth grade curriculum, if I'm going to create a group for World War II and their job is to research how World War II started, then I'm going to give each person in that group a very specific task. Susie is going to be the researcher and she is researching topic ABC. Tony, he's going to be looking for the graphics to go with Sally's research, right? Sarah is going to be organizing their presentation and outlining where things will go and how they'll fit together. So they're all working together on the same product, but everybody has a very specific job. And that will hopefully combat anybody not working well together or not knowing what to do. So the third tip that I have is one, it's not mine. I learned this when I attended the Georgia EdTech Conference a few weeks ago. I sat in on a session with a fantastic teacher. The session was called Creating with Littles. So her session was tailored towards teachers who work with kids in grades K through 2. And one of the things that she does is color codes projects. So again, Sally and Tony are partners and they're both working on the same slide deck or they're both working in the same book creator book. But Sally is only allowed to work on the blue pages and Tony is only allowed to work on the green pages. They have their own tasks, and then once they finish their job, they can look at each other's work and they can process it, give some feedback, but they've been working on their own area, so they're not deleting or messing up what somebody else has done. Because for a lot of, especially the younger kids, they're not quite great at using trackpads and mice. Even touch screens can be difficult for them because they're developing those fine motor skills. And it's a lot of fine motor skill to hold down the trackpad and gently pull things over and click in the right box. So often they accidentally delete things and then their partner gets upset. So by color coding it, they're working together, they're talking, they're collaborating, but they have their own space. And having their own space means that if they delete something, they can quickly get it back. They don't have to worry that they deleted their partner's work or that it's gone and now we've got a fight, an argument. So I thought that was a really great suggestion. All right, so tip number 4 is set a timer. All right, so when I had in-person students, I had a timer for almost everything, for center time, for recess time, for lunch time, for attendance, because the memes about not submitting attendance are true. I had an attendance timer, and 80% of the time I still forgot, but I had a timer. And so my suggestion is to set a timer where you have students stop, collaborate, and listen. No, stop and collaborate. So when we're working in maybe center time and I have a group of students with me at my table and I have, a group over here that's collaborating and they're working together and I've got students at another center working, we all get very wrapped up in what we're doing. And, 20, 25 minutes can go by and we've all been working really hard, but we haven't stopped to check in. So setting a timer on your phone, just, to pause my group and say, hey, group 2, now's the time to stop, check in with each other, see where you're at, and then keep going. Having that set time reminds us all, okay, I need to get out of my bubble of work and I need to check with other people. So I think that might help. That's something you could definitely put in place tomorrow that you might find really helps not just you, but your kids stay on top of what you're doing. All right, and then the 5th and final tip, provide sentence stems to guide discussion. Again, our littles, our K through 2 kids, they're developing vocabulary, they're developing social skills, they're just learning how to exist in the world. So asking them to not only exist and regulate and express themselves, but also to do that with another person, that's very taxing. But it's not just the littles. We talked about pre-COVID, post-COVID, even into middle school and high school. Having a sentence stem can be very helpful for allowing students to express their feelings and their thoughts without feeling like they're putting themselves on the chopping block, right? So I remember when I was in school in a group, I wanted to be the leader, but I didn't want to say that. I didn't want to step up. I didn't want the eyes on me, ironically, as I do a Facebook Live. But I wanted the leadership and I wanted to help, but I didn't want to say anything. But then the project wasn't going anywhere, and then I ended up doing it myself. So having a sentence stem that says, I feel blank when you blank because. I feel annoyed when you play with your pencil instead of working because we're not getting anything done. And it can be that simple. It can even be if you do SEL in your classroom, you might already have some sentence stems that students use to talk about their emotions and their feelings. So using those within collaboration, making sure that they're not isolated to just SEL time or when we're discussing this topic, blending them into collaboration can be very helpful. Even printing them out, and you put kids into groups and say, okay, I'm going to give you your 3 stems just in case you get stuck. And students have a place to go if they're getting frustrated, if they feel like they're getting upset and they don't know how to address it. I feel blank when you blank because. Another one could be, I want to blank, but blank, right? I want to change the background to purple, but you said you don't like purple. So what can we do? Okay. Um, I want the text to be in a different font because I think that font is too small. You can frame these specifically for collaboration or you can frame them for a larger purpose, but I do think having some sentence stems is helpful for kids and could probably be helpful for some adults too. But so those are the 5 tips that I would try if you are struggling with collaboration, especially with technology in your classroom. Have your students, look at models of examples and non-examples of good collaboration. Assign each person in the group a very specific task. Again, you assign it as the teacher, and then as they get used to it, they can start taking the jobs for themselves. Number 3 was to color code sections so that students have a specific place to work. So one student works on the yellow pages, one student works on the blue pages, however many you need. Number 4 was to set a timer so that you know, especially during center time, to say at some point, let's stop and let's collaborate, let's talk, let's see where we're at. And then number 5, providing those sentence stems so students know how to frame and how to speak what they're thinking and feeling. I hope these were helpful tips. If they were, please let me know. My goal is to keep doing some Facebook Lives, keep offering you some fun creative technology tips and tricks. This has been a new path for me within education, and I am really loving it. So I would love to dive even deeper into creative technology, creation, creativity, gifted students, all of that stuff. So let me know if this was helpful, and I will let you know the next time that I go live. Take care.